got fascinating stuff from J.J. Redick. All right, first off, here's what happened in the NBA last night. The Bucks outscored the 76ers by 17 points in the second half, and they knock off Philly. Giannis leading the way, 32 points, 11 rebounds. Bucks are 8-3 since the All-Star break. Let's stay in the East. The Knicks dominated Portland last night, winning 105-93. Jalen Brunson, sensational. 45 points for the third time this season. Last player for the Knicks to do that was Carmelo Anthony 11 years ago. And in Boston, the Celtics just keep dominating against the better teams in the NBA. Jaylen Brown had 37, Jason Tatum 26. Boston knocking off KD and the Suns 127-112. Celtics are 15-2 in their last 17 games. That also, with that win, makes them the first team in the NBA this season to officially clinch a playoff spot. They've been the best in the sport, but I should tell you, history has not been kind to teams in this position. Only 4 in the last 25 years of the teams that were the first to clinch a playoff spot won the championship, and those teams had Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant. Speaking of KD, in that loss to Boston last night for the Suns, KD had 20. And while he has been very much maligned this year and in others, I want you to hear what J.J. Redick had to say about him because it is fascinating.
We're going to look back in like 10 or 15 years and be like, why the did we spend all this time with all the discourse and not just appreciate literally one of the greatest basketball players to ever play this game? He's literally one of the greatest players ever, and we spend too much time on the instead of just appreciating his night-to-night greatness.
Okay, so that's a fascinating take, I thought, from JJ, and I'm sure it got a lot of reaction, and it will here. Oh, the big fella, Big Perk, is up and ready to go.
Happy face is happy.
Yes, I'm just trying to read the face. Big Perk, what did you think of that?
You know, Greeny, good to see you first off, okay? You know that J.J. Redick, every month, like once a month, he's going to go on these cute, adorable rants, okay? And majority of the time, he's right and he's on point. This time, it was a reach and he's wrong. First of all, KD doesn't even fit in that box. We're talking about an all-time great. Guys have acknowledged that right now, KD is a top 20 all-time great. That's not being underappreciated. Kevin Durant started in the All-Star game. That's not being underappreciated by the fans. And so when you think about KD, right, I have him as arguably the greatest scorer to ever touch the damn basketball. And I've said that on many occasions. I done heard Jamal Crawford, one of the most skilled guys to ever touch the basketball, say that Kevin Durant is the best player in the world. I heard Stephen A. said that Kevin Durant is the best player in the world. When you talk about guys that are underappreciated, it is guys that fit the criteria like a DeMar DeRozan, who we don't talk about enough, one of the elite scorers to ever play the game, like a Rudy Gobert, who is going to be in the Hall of Fame, who's on the verge of winning his 4th Defensive Player of the Year, but still don't get the acknowledgement that he's supposed to get, especially from his peers. When it comes down to Kevin Durant, nobody's underappreciating him. Matter of fact, we give him his flowers all the time. Yeah. That was a horrible take by J.J. Redick.
But let's focus on the other side of it. Do people, and by people I guess I mean us, you and me and the others who talk about this, do we focus too much on what he hasn't done or the things he's done that we did not like, and not enough on how day in, day out great he is?
Well, Greeny, let me say this to you, okay? Right? So you just think about the situation, and you think about, okay, forget the fact that he left Oklahoma City and went join the Warriors. Okay, he actually joined the Warriors and got it done. Okay, but now you think about him leaving Golden State and going to join Kyrie Irving with the Brooklyn Nets. If Kevin Durant never leaves Golden State, guess what? He has 2 more championships at least, maybe 1 to 3 more finals MVPs, okay? And then when he gets to Phoenix, all we ever question KD about is getting uncomfortable, raising his level of leadership, because he is the old head on that team. He is the guy that has the championship experience that actually completed the mission. So no, I mean, we got to talk about those things. We talk about Braun. We talk about Steph at times. When Golden State is through a slump, it's not underappreciating him or talking about, the things that has happened.
Start with a little game of fact or fiction. So, Big Perk, if I said the Lakers have a better chance to make a run in the playoffs than the Warriors do, is that fact or fiction?
It's facts, Greeny. Look, I don't expect them to have a big run in the postseason, but I picked them over the Warriors. You know why? Because they still have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, a better duo than the Golden State Warriors have in Steph Curry and Jonathan Kuminga. So I would have to go with the Lakers solely because of that point.
We're going to talk about them a little more in a minute. Next, though, if I said Nikola Jokic is going to win his third MVP this season, is that fact or fiction?
Greeny, what if I said that's facts? Right now, what Jokic is doing to the rest of the league, not only is he the best player in the league, but he has went and he's taken the MVP. Like, nobody is giving this to him. The way he's been dominating on both ends of the floor. He's been great defensively as well. Right now, to me, it's Jokic all day long.
No question about it. Then finally, if I said Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns are going to make it to the Western Conference Finals, is that fact or fiction?
I would say you have to get your brain checked, Greeny, because that is fiction. Look, they still lack depth off the bench. I don't have trust in Nurkic and Bobo like that to be able to battle the likes of a Sabonis or a Jokic. And I don't even think that they have solidified that void of that wing position, that defender. Not taking no credit from Royce O'Neal, but they still needed an upgrade at that position. I thought it was a little upgrade, but not major.
Yeah, they lost to Boston last night. Kevin Durant had 20. The Celtics have been ridiculously good. But I want to play again for those who've just joined us here, particularly at the bottom of the hour. JJ Redick had some really interesting comments on his podcast about Kevin Durant, who I think is one of the most polarizing players in terms of evaluation that I can ever remember in all my years covering the NBA. Let's listen again to JJ.
We're going to look back in like 10 or 15 years and be like, why the did we spend all this time with all the discourse and not just appreciate literally one of the greatest basketball players to ever play this game? He's literally one of the greatest players ever, and we spend too much time on the instead of just appreciating his night-to-night greatness.
So here's what I think, and I wanted to get Bart and Domonique in this conversation as well, because I think this is like your classic barbershop conversation at this point, right? That's what this has become with Kevin Durant. And here's the argument that I would make. You can ask two questions. Is he underappreciated? Or you can ask, how will he be remembered? And I actually, are we paying too much attention to the things he hasn't done or the things he's done that we have had issue with rather than the consistent greatness? And I think I would argue with JJ, and it's a conversation I'd love to have sometime, I think history is actually going to go the other way. I think the way we remember these great players, fairly or unfairly, rightly or wrongly, in large part has to do with the championships that they've won. And unless Kevin Durant is able to do that again in some other place besides the only place he did it, I do not think he will be remembered that way. Kevin Durant is a player who 5 years ago we would have said was the second best player of his generation. I think he has been surpassed by Steph Curry on that list, despite the fact that Durant, was the MVP of the finals when he won those championships with Steph. I think part of the moving around, you look at the players like him who've been from team to team, you look at the abject disaster that was his time in Brooklyn, whatever part of that he has to wear, whether he was the one who sort of came out of it better than anyone else or not. I think the reality is, for all of his greatness, and no one questions how great of a player he is. I agree with you, Perk, when you said earlier, he's probably as good a scorer as has ever lived. I actually do not think history is going to be as kind to Kevin Durant unless something substantial changes here towards the end of his career, as JJ is suggesting. What do you think of that?
And you're absolutely right, Greeny. And I want to bring LeBron James into this, okay? LeBron James won 2 championships in Miami, okay? If he would have just stayed in Miami, do you think we would have LeBron James on this high pedestal like we do for us being in the GOAT conversation? Hell no. LeBron James actually knew that he had to go back to Cleveland and win a championship, and he did that. He went back to where it started from and had one of the greatest runs in finals history, being down 3-1 to knock off a 73-9 Golden State Warriors team. And then he went and left and won another championship with the Los Angeles Lakers. Okay, we look at the late, great Kobe Bryant. He won 3 championships with Shaquille O'Neal as his counterpart. Okay, when we start putting Kobe in a different conversation, is when he won those 2 championships after Shaq left. So it's not unfair criticism with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant actually could change the narrative. Kevin Durant actually is in a great situation right now with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal and the Phoenix Suns that he actually could change this entire conversation. But it's not unfair for us to bring up Kevin Durant's career and the journey he had to take for us to go win a championship and going to, a team that had already won one with the big 3 of Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson. That is not unfair. Every single great in the history of basketball has had to face some type of criticism at some point of their career.